All right, guys, today we are talking about the George Pickens trade. This is very interesting. There's a lot of different ways of looking at this. I'm going to be focusing more so on the Cowboys side of the trade. I will talk a little bit about the Steelers, but it's not really a Steelers offense focused video. It's more for the Cowboys here because I think it just has bigger implications. But we will talk about both, so if you're a fan of the Steelers, just hang in there. We will get to it. But first, though, so the Cowboys trade for George Pickens. Leading up to the draft, it was believed that the Cowboys really wanted Ted McMillan. It seems like that's the case. He didn't fall to them. They kind of scramble for a trade, and they go and they get George Pickens. And I do like this. So right now, Cowboys, Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, they signed a free agency from the Broncos. They also signed Miles Sanders, who was the last on Carolina. CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, Jake Ferguson. Not sure how to say Hunter's last name. Tyler Guyton, Tyler Smith, Cooper Beebe, Tyler Booker, and Terrence Steele. So yeah, it's a very solid offense, and I think we say this every year about the Cowboys, that they are solid, but they're just not always much more than that. I think every year where they start to hit that point where people can kind of see them as contenders, they just fall short, unfortunately. But usually the Cowboys are always very good. Last year, injuries kind of got to them, and things just fell apart very quickly. So, it happens to the best of the teams in the NFL. This year, though, you're obviously wanting Dak back and healthy. This will be a big thing to monitor here. I believe it's his hamstring that he had surgery on. So, again, not really a young quarterback, not really, I would say, an older quarterback, but he's right at that line where it's definitely possible for him to start to kind of decline. Now, with this injury, definitely keep an eye on Dak this year to see how he's looking bouncing back from that. If he happens to struggle or get hurt again, the Cowboys did get Joe Milton from New England. And Milton's a fun quarterback because he's very fun to watch. I feel like he's similar to he's like a Walmart budget version of like a Lamar Jackson, a Cam Newton. He has an unbelievable arm. He's very athletic. He's strong, but he just doesn't really have a lot of the fundamentals polished. He's a very raw prospect, very inconsistent. But is it possible for him to develop? Absolutely. And so the Cowboys kind of took a shot on him. I like it. High upside backup quarterback in case your starter goes down. I mean, no complaints there. Now, the running backs are interesting, though. So you sign Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, and you draft Jaden Blue from Texas. Honestly, Miles Sanders was terrible in Carolina. Javonte Williams was solid last year in Denver. He's coming off that ACL tear. I think he's even another year removed from that now, so I believe he's 2 years removed from it. We'll see how he's looking. Hopefully, like his rookie year self, if he gets back to being fully healthy. If not, though, you had the rookie running back, Jaden Blue, take a shot on. I like it. Of course, though, the point of the video is for the wide receiver core. So CeeDee Lamb is now paired with George Pickens. I like this for quite a few reasons. Number one, the Cowboys just never do anything like this. That's honestly why I like it, because it's showing that you're at least trying to compete. You are going and you're getting outside guys. You're not having the typical offseason of re-signing your long snapper and signing a linebacker and then just calling it quits. No, you are trying to go out of house, sign different players, bring them in. I like it a lot just solely for that reason. Another reason I like it a lot is because CeeDee Lamb really hasn't had a wide receiver of this caliber to play alongside of, and same goes for George Pickens. It's kind of funny because Pickens did just have that with getting Metcalf, but now we'll never see that happen, so it doesn't really matter. Lamb and Pickens, though, I think they can complement each other very, very well. CeeDee is one of those guys that's going to get open. I mean, he's just that echelon of a wide receiver where he's going to get open. He's going to make plays. George Pickens is a huge big play guy. He'll come down with some unbelievable grabs. And he also is he's very good at getting open. He can kind of turn the afterburners on, outrun guys. So I think it's a really fun wide receiver duo to watch. And if you get Dak back and healthy, this could be a really good offense. Not to mention, for wide receiver depth, you still have Kevontae Turpin, who's a very good special teams player, and he's a kind of average, if not below average wide receiver, but very, very good special teams wise. Jonathan Mingo in Carolina never really did much. Didn't get, I guess, a whole lot of opportunity to because the offense using at the time was terrible. That was a rookie year Bryce Young, no O-line. So could he be good? Maybe. Honestly, I have no idea. And you also have the veteran Paris Campbell back there as well. But again, going back to this CeeDee and George Pickens thing, this needs to be a huge hit for Dallas because we've seen now recently in the league, Super Bowl windows are not as big as I think people just think they are. I mean, you have this team that's really, really good. They get there, and it's like, oh man, they can get right back. But then the following season, you have a big injury. It throws everything off course. There's just absolutely nothing guaranteed in any sport, really, especially football. And I think the Cowboys are kind of proof of that because they've been right on the cusp so many times and they just fall short, and they have to kind of regroup and try again, and they get close and they fall short. So if this Super Bowl run is going to happen, it is going to be with this roster right here at the worst. I mean, maybe they, kind of bring some other guys in, whatever. But Dak and CD have shown that they can be a top duo in the league. They can get a lot of wins, and they can go get it. But here's the issue, because again, like I said, these windows are not open very long at all. And as we saw just a couple seasons ago, this division was horrible. Now all of a sudden you have the Eagles coming off a Super Bowl win, Washington hitting huge on a rookie quarterback, and they're coming off a NFC East championship appearance, or NFC championship appearance, and now you have the Cowboys. So now instead of it being kind of like Cowboys in first, then kind of the Eagles in second, no, now it's a 3-team race for the division. It's going to be very, very tough. But I think that is why I like this move so much, because you're making moves to go and get it done. You understand the competition that's being built up around you. So credit to the Cowboys there. As for George Pickens himself, it seems like he is kind of his own biggest enemy. And what I mean by that is just his attitude sometimes and his ability to try and control his emotions. And clearly there's issues there. And Mike Tomlin was the one, allegedly, that kind of said, let's trade him away. It wasn't the owner. It wasn't the GM. It was really Tomlin's decision to kind of just fresh start both ways for Pickens and for Pittsburgh. And honestly, it probably is for the best. Here's the thing that gets brought up so often with wide receivers with bad quarterbacks is whenever they complain or they lash out about not getting the ball, people, look at them bad and call them a diva and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're going to pay someone $80 million to go out there and catch a football, I think them being upset about not being able to catch the football is a good problem to have. Now, with that said, you have to be able to contain that frustration, because obviously if you get that tension in there, it really disrupts the locker room. A lot of bad things can happen from that. But just the problem itself of having a guy frustrated that he's not able to perform at the highest level, that is a good problem to have. And that is a problem Pickens had in Pittsburgh. They just couldn't get a quarterback to consistently give him the football. And I think that also kind of started a lot of his, that may not started, but that also kind of resulted in him lashing out emotionally and having issues like that in the locker room and being mad at the organization and the coaches and all this kind of stuff. Dak is the best quarterback by a mile that Pickens will have had to have played with so far in the NFL. And like I said before, Pickens is also the best wide receiver by a long shot that CD has got to play alongside of, and vice versa. I think this is a huge move, but it comes down to Pickens being able to control that temper, and I know that that's going to be talked about, so I want to kind of address it here. I think it's an okay problem to have if you can manage it. And I think in this scenario, he has a quarterback definitely capable enough to give him the ball consistently, to run a high-powered offense, and that's what Pickens needs to, I think, thrive, because that's the level he's at. That's just the pace he's able to play at. He needs to be in an offense like this. The Steelers' offense was not a good fit for him. He's not a player that should have 110 receiving yards one week and 19 the next week. It's just not him. Maybe some guys can fit that role great. They can just kind of go with whatever the team needs that week and whatever. Pickens is a guy that's going to want the ball when he's open every single time. Dak is able to run an offense like that, where if that guy's open, he's throwing it. Dak will throw the ball 50 times a game if he has to. This isn't a great running back room. This is a solid running back room, but the Cowboys are going to want to throw the football because you have CeeDee Lamb on the field. That's what they wanted last year. Now you put Pickens on that field. So they're going to want to throw the football, and I think we can see Pickens take a huge step in that sense, because that frustration of not getting the ball, I would imagine, would be gone here in Dallas. Now, I did say before that a part of this video will be going over the Steelers, so I'll make this very brief, but I did want to mention it because it is still part of the trade. Right now, Steelers, quarterbacks, Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. Kind of rooting for Will Howard in this one. Rudolph's solid, but that's not going to get you anywhere. I mean, maybe you can limp into the wild card round like you always do and lose, but Howard is the more exciting guy to watch in that quarterback battle. But yeah, so you had Metcalf, you had Robert Woods, but this is not a good offense. I think if you still had Pickens, then you could be excited at the idea that Will Howard steps in and looks really good with a DK Metcalf, George Pickens combo. But now you're getting excited about Will Howard maybe stepping in and throwing the ball to DK Metcalf, Robert Woods, and Calvin Austin III. It's not consistent enough for me. I saw a tweet, and I wish I could find it. If I could find it, I would definitely credit the person. But I saw them say that, I think they were a Steelers fan, and they said that the Steelers are the first team in NFL history to fix their wide receiver issue in the same offseason they also like ruin their wide receiver issue, or I guess ruin their wide receiver room. I kind of butchered that. I can't remember how he worded it, but it was really funny. Just take my word for it. I know I butchered it, but seriously, what he's saying is though that in the same offseason, the Steelers fixed their wide receiver problem, and then they also made it worse in the same offseason. So, yeah, I'm not high on the Steelers. I understand wanting to kind of separate from Pickens, though, just because of the whole attitude thing, the locker room presence. Totally understand that. Is this offense going to be as exciting as it would have been with Pickens in there? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think absolute best case for Pittsburgh is Caleb Johnson, the wide receiver they draft, steps in there, or the running back they drafted, steps in there and is an amazing 1-2 punch with Jalen Warren. Metcalf's great, and Roman Wilson steps up this year now, second year, hopefully healthy. He steps in there and is really good. That's like absolute best case scenario for this offense. Worst case scenario, Howard can't get it done. Rudolph's your starter all year. Metcalf's inconsistent, and you have Robert Woods and Calvin Austin the third to compliment him. Yeah, Pat Franklin's solid too, but still. It's sketchy. It is absolutely sketchy. So overall, I love this trade for the Cowboys. I understand it for the Steelers. I still don't like the trade because it still just really hurts your offense, but I understand why they did it. But for the Cowboys, this could be very, very big for them. This division is going to be a challenge. It's only getting better. I mean, if the Giants hit on Jackson Dart, give them another season or two, and they'll be competing right there as well. So it's only getting tougher. I love the Cowboys finally addressing something like that and trying to better their team and getting guys from out of house and not just paying the same guys in there that can routinely keep you at this purgatory of average football team. So very exciting. Keep an eye on Joe Milton. Keep an eye on Pickens and Lamb. Hopefully Dak bounces back healthy and a very interesting running back room. But yeah, early thoughts on the Cowboys. I like the trade. And yeah, if you like the video, make sure like, subscribe. I would appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.